Hello everyone, my name is Kate Marshall. The name of my channel is called Inked Paper Art. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today is day 5 of 365 days of junk journal ideas. Today I'm going to be working with these. These are vintage 35mm photography slides. Maybe you have some of these laying around. And so we're going to be working with these. They have little cardboard holders and pictures in the center. We're going to be turning them into something fabulous. I have a couple off to the side here. And the first thing you want to do with your slides is pop the picture out. This one has a very cute little duck swimming in a pond in it. This one here, I'm not sure what is in there. But the first thing you want to do is pop your picture out. And that's where we get those from. These are usable in your junk journals many different ways. The next thing you want to do is you want to go from the inside square, the little cutout, and you want to try to open this gently by pulling it apart like that, ever so gently. And you want to end up with two pieces. So most of them come connected here in the center, and you just want to separate them till you have two pieces like this. Set that aside for just a second. The next thing we want to do is cover up our work surface, just because we're going to be working with some glue. So we've covered up our work surface there. Next thing is you want to figure out what you want to cover your slide with. I am going to cover mine with antique documents. I like the handwriting on them. However, you could cover them up with scrapbook paper. You could cover them up with a digital that you like. I'm going to cover mine up with antique handwriting. Let's go ahead and see. Let's go ahead and use this little scrap down here. Let's use that one. I do like this robin's egg blue paper though too. It's very pretty. So I will show you finished examples at the end. The first thing we're going to do with these guys is we're going to use glue stick to glue them to the paper. At this point, you're going to pick out what side of the paper you want to be your front. This one has more handwriting, so I'm going to pick this on the front. This is the back, and I'm going to take my glue stick and I'm going to glue on the front face of my slide. And I'm just going to put glue stick all the way around, kind of be messy with it. That's fine. And then you're going to glue it where you have a little bit of a border all the way around where you can wrap the paper around to the back. So just kind of press that into place. We'll add some more glue again on the front face, not the inside part on the front face. We're covering the front face, making the front decorative. So add your glue. Get that glued down, leave some space so that you can wrap the paper around. From here, take your scissors and cut them out. Just leave enough so that you can wrap that paper. And then right here, it's just a little too much. So that's good. I'll save those little scraps for another project. And then from here, I like to take very sharp scissors. I use the cutter bees for my fussy cutting. And so I'm going to poke a hole in the center here, and I'm going to cut diagonal out to the corners. And what I'm doing is I'm opening up that little frame in the center, and I'm also making it so that we can wrap the paper around to cover the inside frame also. You'll see that in just a second. So I poked a hole and I've cut diagonally from corner to corner. Then use your fingers and poke those little pieces up to the back. And then you'll notice that when you fold them over, you're going to need to do a little trim here because it's overlapping. So just do a little trim on your little corner sections. Again, sharper scissors work better. And I'm just going to trim them all as quick as I can. You can save those little pieces. They make great little pieces of antique document confetti for shaker cards or any other type of project. But just trim those little corner pieces down a little bit like that. And then from here, we want to take art glitter glue is what I'm going to use. You can use whatever glue you want on this section. I just want something that's going to hold this paper strongly down into place. And so I'm going to put glue on all of those inside flaps. And for this part, less glue is definitely more easier to work with. So just put some glue on those inside flaps and then use your finger to wrap those flaps around just like that. You're just wrapping them around, pressing them for a second to hold them down. And then you're going to do the same thing all the way around the outside flaps. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue here, and we need to trim our corners too. You don't have to trim your corners, but I've done it both ways, trimmed and where you leave the corners and you fold them over. And I definitely like the trimmed corner look better. So don't trim completely up flush against your corner of your slide frame. Just trim a little tiny, I don't know, a hair's distance away from it. The easiest way to fold these that I have found is press them down onto your mat and fold them. And that gives you a nice clean fold. So that's what I'm doing for all 4 sides around my slide frame. And you're going to end up with a front slide frame that looks something like this, where all the paper is nicely folded around to the back. The back is going to look like this, where you've got your inside all folded around and your outside all folded around as well. It's okay if they're not folded and sticking down perfectly, because we're going to sandwich something in between here. So let's go ahead and get this other one done. Again, I want to trim my corners. This time I'm going to trim them before I put glue on. And so trim your corners quick, just not completely flush up against the corner, but close. And then first fold in your inside flaps. And you can see I'm using just a tiny little fleck of art glitter glue. I don't want glue seeping everywhere. So I'm going to fold those in from the outside, or from the inside out, from the inside of the little square, the little rectangle in the center, to the out. And then I'm going to fold around the edge, fold around, just a little tiny bit of glue. Basically, we're just tacking it in place at this point, and we'll come back and it'll make more sense here in a second. So you can fold it freehand like this, but I do think you get a cleaner fold by just using your mat to wrap that around. Just use your mat. And it is easier if you're going to use your mat to just put glue on one flap at a time. Just because I'm in speed mode. I'm always in speed mode for these videos. I did all 4 at the same time. But if you're going to use your mat to fold them, it is better just to put glue on one at a time. So now we have something that looks like this. It's beautiful, but it is not complete. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of plastic bag packaging. That's what I'm using today. It's just a plastic bag that all kinds of products come in. So just one of these. I've taken it and I've trimmed it down to, for my slides, it's about 1 3/4 by 1.5. So it's just one little piece. It's 1 3/4 by 1.5. It's a very small, it's just enough to lay in here and cover that. And so the next part I'm going to do is I'm going to add the tiniest little bit of glue. And I mean like very, very super tiny. And it, again, it's not to hold it permanently. We're going to do something else for that. But it's just to tack this little piece of plastic wherever that just went. It's just to tack it into place for a moment. So just put that in, put your little piece of clear, whatever you're using. So you could use packaging if you're trying to recycle. You could also purchase on Amazon. They sell things that are called cake collars, and that is very thick pieces of transparent. Thick transparency works also. You could use glue stick for this part. Glue stick is good because it doesn't seep out. However, sometimes the plastic doesn't like to stick to glue stick as well. So I'm just very gently tapping it in with some art glitter for the moment. And you notice I'm not pressing, I'm not squishing out my glue because I don't want it to get on the transparency. I'm literally just touching it to the plastic and then giving it a minute to dry. The other tip I have for putting your plastic in is if you let your art glitter glue dry for just a few seconds before you stick your plastic to it, it does work better to prevent the glue from seeping out. I'm in fast mode, not really worrying about it too terribly much at the moment. The next thing we want are dried flowers. I bet you guys could guess where I was going with it. But I have these dried flowers. These are real pressed dried flowers, and they are from Nature's Pressed. I believe these were purchased on Etsy. I will see if they are still in business and still doing this. I purchased these a while ago, but these ones are real pressed flowers. Whoopsie. And so I'm going to open up one of these, and then you can find pressed flowers, dried flowers anywhere. For me, I really like the quality of these they're homegrown garden kind of people and their flowers are beautifully pressed. So I like the quality of these ones. Now to put my flower in on my plastic, I'm going to use Fabri-Tac. The reason why I'm going to use Fabri-Tac is because Fabri-Tac is both permanent and it's clear. It dries clear. So I'm going to put just a drop of Fabri-Tac, and I'm circling it around, and then I'm flipping it upside down and kind of circling my nozzle to get that glue string away from my dot of glue. So I've got just the perfect little dot of glue in there. Then for the next part, I like to use tweezers. These kind of little offset tweezers. This is the way I like to handle my dried flowers. Let's go ahead and put, well, I don't know, the daisy. You guys want the daisy? The daisy might be a little too big. Let's put this guy in. Let's put him in. So I'm going to set him in, and I'm going to put him face up. So there he is, and I just tapped him into the glue to make sure that the back of him got pressed into the glue. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to glue my two pieces together. Now, I have also done this where I have taken them to the sewing machine and just sewn them together. I do prefer to sew them together. However, I don't have a sewing machine in here. So we're not going to sew today. However, that just happened. That just happened. So if you can sew, I think it would be better. But we're just going to use art glitter. And again, I'm putting a little bit. I'm trying to put a little bit. It is what it is. And so then I'm going to sandwich these two together, making sure that my handwriting is the right way up. Check and make sure the handwriting is the right way up there too. And so then sandwich them together. Tap them down to make sure that they're level and straight. And then for this, you don't want to push too much because you've got glue in between and you're trying not to let your glue seep out onto your plastic. So just tap them together, give them a little hold for just a minute. I'm not pressing very hard, but just a little bit. And then the next step is we're going to create a charm out of this. And so let me go ahead and get my eyelet setter over here. And I'm going to use the We Are Memory Keepers Crocodile for this next step. And it's going to be pretty quick. We're just going to put a nice eyelet in this. So again, I'm making sure that that's all lined up and closed. I'm going to grab out my crocodile. And then the crocodile, I'm going to use the large hole punch. And I'm going to figure out where I want my hole to go. And I think on this one, I'm going to put it right here. So I just slide it in at a corner, and I'm just going to crop, I don't know, maybe about a third of an inch or so, and I'm going to make a hole. And so for my eyelets that I'm using a larger eyelet, and so I actually need to make my hole just a smidge bigger. Your eyelets will probably be the right size for your crocodile, but I'm going to go ahead and put in one of these oversized. These are 3/8 of an inch eyelets. I like to use the oversized ones. So like I said, the crocodile hole is just a little too small, so you have to get that in there. These ones have a washer on the back. If you're not familiar with using washers on your crocodile, you need to find the front side of your washer. Your washer goes on the back of your eyelet, and then you press. I'm using the silver tip, the silver nib, and I'm using the gold bottom. So the silver and the gold I'm using for my 3/8 inch, and I'm putting it right on the bottom section. I'm on there, and I'm just going to hold it and press it down, give it a good squeeze, and that puts on my washer on the back so that I have a nice flush surface there. Nothing is hard or scratchy, and I've got a nice eyelet in the corner there. From here, we're going to put these onto some metal chain, and I have some metal chain and some hooks right here, or clips right here. So I'm using these pieces of bronze colored ball chain. And so I'm putting that right in the hole. And then I'm going to thread that through the hole of my bulldog clip. And this is just a little clip-on charm. You could use these in many different ways, but this is just meant to be a little clip-on charm. And so with ball chain, you take the ball, you put it in the hole right here, and you pull up, and that locks your ball chain. That locks your ball chain on. And so then from there, you would use this to clip it to a page in your journal. And this is the one that we made today. That's the front side. That's the back side. It's beautiful. You can see where you can use many different papers to put on the front of your slide case. I have a bunch of these that I have been playing with here, so I will flip through them and show you these. But these are very simple, easy to do. They come out beautiful. I made these very simple. You could obviously add labels, you could add little other collage elements, but I did these very simply. I put a fern. You can use book page. I will say that I like to use thin papers to cover the slide frames. Like these are rag paper book pages. They're thin and they work really well to cover, to fold around. If you're using a thicker scrapbook paper, you might have a harder time folding it around your slide case. On this one, this is the one where I didn't clip my corners and I just folded them in. And this is a rose squished in there. So I've got a bunch of little charms here ready to go, plus the one that we just made. And I hope that you guys give this a go. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me today. Be sure to check out the description box below this video. There's all kinds of interesting links in there for you guys. And I will see you guys back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.